Good afternoon, everyone. I must apologize first because I have a bit of a cold, so I hope I still have a voice by the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for inviting me here. As you've just heard from Nicholas, the Ligates Research Center has been focused on the development of a methodology to describe book bindings. And as decorated papers can be found on books, they should form part of binding description. But as we are not experts in this particular field, we have faced the problem of finding a way to identify these papers, describe them, and record this description in a way that is searchable and usable by everyone. This is why we have created this resource with Nicholas and Thanasis Velios, who is the co-director of the center and who has more worked on the structure of the database and its development. The decorated papers, which can be defined as plain papers decorated by different means, such as stenciling, sprinkling, block printing, are commonly found on books as covering materials, as you can see here, or end leaves. But of course, they are also found on boxes, enclosures, and many other objects, as we saw, for instance, on Monday on devotional work. They were produced, of course, with a great variety of techniques, colors, and styles throughout the centuries, ranging from simplest solid-colored paper to the more elaborate and well-known brocat papier. There are also, of course, marble papers, bronze varnish papers, paste papers, or block printed, to name just a few. However, they are rarely described in a more detailed way, but their great diversity and technical aspects of their production are essential to record as they can provide valuable information. But at the moment, anyone willing to record a decorated paper will need to rely on a written description, which often requires time and a certain level of expertise. And where no images are available, the terminology used can sometimes be too complex to help the reader correctly picture the specific paper. So the idea was to create a digital tool based on visual representations to facilitate its use, and it appeared to solve many of the issues we encountered. As a digital collection, it doesn't have any limitation for space, which means that we can upload any number of pictures, an unlimited number of pictures, sorry. As a free and online resource, it is more accessible, and we use the controlled vocabulary as opposed to free text description, which means that it is easily retrievable, interoperable, and machine searchable. This tool therefore simply consists of a series of images of decorated papers with which users can compare the paper they want to describe. Each paper is given a unique reference in the database, which is the URL or the web address, Uniform Resource Locator, as you can see next to the paper. And users can then simply refer to it in their own records to indicate a close match, or use the terms we have used to describe it and guide their description. In addition to photographs and reference, each paper is defined according to manufacturing techniques, patterns, decorative formats, colors, but also bibliographical information about the books on which the paper is found, and any date, number, name printed on the paper should be transcribed, of course, as well as any useful information. So a collection of images, but how are they organized in order to be retrieved? To allow categorization, which is the indexing of decorated papers, and the keyword searching, which is the retrieval of these images, they are accompanied by concepts which are organized based on the SCOS standards and adapted from the existing literature. Now, important research has been done in the past 20 years or more to standardize the classification and the terminology of decorated papers, a work that is mainly done by the Arbeitskreis Bund Papier, the group of specialists of decorated paper who annually meets in Leipzig, and with Hempel here, of one of the representatives. And we have used their latest publication as the reference for our work, and they have very patiently helped us redefine the various concepts to make it comply with the SCOS standards. So what is this SCOS? When recording description, if everyone uses their own terminology or language in their database, and when someone wants to search a paper, you have to understand the terms used in each system or database. And then you have to query each database with these terms, or you have to create complex databases correspondence. However, if you use the same term, then you can query all the system from one point and obtain the same result. But whoever works on terminology knows how difficult it can be to agree on the use of one term over another. So this data model, this SKOS, or Simple Knowledge Organization System, was a useful solution. It has been used to produce the online Arts and Architecture thesaurus, and it models a thesaurus as a set of concepts with preferred and alternative labels. They're organized in broader and narrower terms, which facilitates interoperability between different resources so that the project's output can be easily shared. And so the novelty of this approach is to choose as the central entity a unique concept, or one definition if you prefer, to which one preferred term is associated together with other terms, such as synonyms. So if I quickly take the example of brocade paper here, the preferred term is the one that appears the most appropriate at the moment and which reflects the current states of research. But it can be, however, easily changed at a later point if new evidence or user preference suggests that an alternative would be better. This implies that if a concept is used to identify a paper at a given time, the preferred term can change, but the concept will stay associated to the paper because it is identified by its URI, its Uniform Resource Identifier, here at the bottom of the page. These structural models provide a solution to two very common terminological issues: the use of multiple terms to define one concept, and the problem of compound terms compressing multiple concepts. So if I take a quick example with these two papers, they are referred both in the literature as marble papers, but they were produced using very different techniques. The one on the left, of course, is the traditional technique of transferring liquid colors from a bath to a paper, and on the right, the paper is created by applying the colors directly to the paper. So in this case, SKOS has led us to separate the two techniques to create two distinctive concepts with new terms associated. So this is the problem of compound terms. Now, multiple terms for the same concept. Here you can see that the paper on the left can be called stone marble. We've chosen this one, but you can see underneath the list of terms that have been found in the literature and are all associated to it. So whatever the term used to define a paper, if a user chooses one term or another to describe or search, he will find the same paper. It is also possible to associate terms and definition in other languages to the same concept, and you will have the possibility to switch from one language to another and to search terms using different languages, if we have the funding, of course, to do all the translations. Additionally, each term and concept can be referenced, so if you want to know where a term or a definition comes from, you have here the source indicated. Now have a look at the website. This is still under development at this stage, but we have all the features installed, and the main structure is there, and you can access it at the address. The first page is the search page, and it displays all the images held in the database, and they don't have a particular organization. They're just all there, and they're organized by date of creation of the record. But above the images, you have a number of search fields that you can use to filter the collection of images. So you have the techniques used to produce the paper, the type of decoration, colors, tools, but we can add more search fields later. And so, for instance, we can add bibliographical information. So then if you wish to know where and when a paper was in use, you will be able to have a date range and geographic area based, of course, on bibliographical data associated to the paper. Now, if you put your cursor, when you do the search in one of the filters, you start typing, and then you have all the options automatically displayed in the drop-down menu. And you can choose one. And if I select brocade paper, here you have the selection. We only have two at the moment. And you can go then on refining your search with another field or even in the same field. So if you select this brocade paper, then you can see all the pictures that have been uploaded for this particular paper. And you have the identifier that you can use for comparison on the address bar. And then if you have a look at the picture, you can select them and navigate through them using the arrow on the right or enlarge the view, for instance. So if I go back and look at the terms used in different fields to describe the paper, they are all live as this is the controlled vocabulary. It means that if I click on one of the terms, I can find their web ID and I can be redirected to the thesaurus. So for instance, for the decoration and techniques, it will be the ligates thesaurus, but for colors, for instance, it will be the Getty, which is the art and architecture thesaurus. And you can see it here. So when we record these terms in a form to upload papers, you can start typing. So this is when you want to create a paper in the database. And then it just simply directly queries the database, the other databases, and it lists all the terms with the words, containing the words you have typed. And you can simply choose from it, and the term with this, its URI is inserted. So the data is linked and more easily retrievable. Now, if the use of a controlled vocabulary is a first step toward linked data and interoperability, the other important aspect of database construction is the relationship between these terms. We have mentioned that a lot of information about the paper can be added. Like here, you can see under each paper, you just have the date and place of printing. But we can specify many other details, such as the type of object that supports the paper, where it is found on the object, the date at which it was added, but also information about the context of production of the paper itself. And so if I take an example and with this block printed paper here, so the view is not very user-friendly at the moment, but it will be improved with your help, hopefully. We've added the following information. We know now that the paper is found on an object, which is a book with this specific edition. And there we can upload bibliographical data extracted from a catalog. And it is used as a drawn-on cover. We also know that it was produced in Orléans and by the paper decorator Le Tourmy. And we could have indicated many other information. So this is how we can reconstruct precisely the fabrication of this object. Now, to make these relationships searchable and organize them, we've selected a number of descriptive fields that you can use to input your data. But so you can see here, for instance, located at or used as drawn on cover. These fields were chosen and organized following the standard of CDOC CRM. I will not go into too much detail about CDOC CRM, but for those who are not familiar with it, it is a conceptual reference model created by the documentation committee of ICOM, and it defines implicit and explicit concepts and relationships that are used in cultural heritage. And here is just the example of, on the screen, of the types of concepts and relationships that we have used to construct the database and how it is mapped to CDOC CRM. Another way to find the papers in the database, if you don't know the terms, is the visual glossary. Now, if you need some guidance as to which term you want to use, you can go to these web pages in which all the terms used to describe the papers are listed with their definition and a few images of papers considered to be typical examples of the decoration and technique used. We hope that the database will expand with the help of a user group. We invite anyone using database to submit photographs of papers. And we will create web pages with general guidelines and recommendation on photography, if this is necessary, of course. After a reviewing process, the images will be indexed and uploaded on the website with the required credits, of course. Now the website is already open for submissions, and we've received some submissions, so we're very happy. However, at the moment, the best way to do it is to contact us via a contact form on the website, and we will reply. The next development, of course, will be the creation of a user-friendly form on which you will be able to upload pictures directly and basic information, and then we can process the data. So this website therefore offers the possibility for any users who might lack the storage capacity or an organized structure to host their collections of images of decorated papers. And we hope that this user group will actively contribute to the improvement of the database and make it a platform for discussion and research. We really welcome any comments, contributions, of course, and questions that you may have. Thank you very much. This is very fun.